Good morning. Testing, testing. There we go. Good morning. So the future of cloud is here. Can you see it? I hope you can, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means. So the future of cloud is here, and we've been talking about it for 10 years. So what is that future? I'm going to start with a statistic that I'm sure you guys know. In the commercial space, over those 10 years that we've been talking about cloud, only 20% of their workloads have moved to the cloud. And it's a very small percentage. And in the federal sector, this is an even lower percentage. It's about 11%. And so lately, we've been looking at IBM, why is this the case? Why is there only a small percentage when we've been looking at this technology, evolving this technology over many years, and there's still only a small percentage of workloads in the cloud or leveraging cloud? So we believe that cloud is at a pivot point, a critical juncture, which we call Chapter 2. And we think in this Chapter 2, this statistic, 20%, 11% for the federal sector, is going to skyrocket and increase rapidly pretty shortly. So I'm going to talk to you today about Chapter 2, but before I do that, a little bit about myself. My name is Robin Hernandez, and today I do lead multi-cloud platforms for IBM. I've been working in software for about 20 years, a little bit over 20 years. And the first half of my career has been spent in IT operations and making software that helps IT operations automate their business. It was the IT service management era, if you will. And in that IT service management era, I worked in development, I worked in technical sales, and in technical sales, I was one of the most vocal people at IBM in technical sales. And some people said, you know, you really cannot keep your opinions to yourself, Robin. And so eventually one of our senior leaders said, hey, you should go into product management and really change our products and create offerings based on those strong opinions you have. And I said, sure, I'll do that. What's product management? So I went into product management to create new offerings at IBM, and I became IBM's first cloud product manager. This was in 2008, 11 years ago. So that was Chapter 1 of cloud. What does Chapter 1 of cloud look like? What happened in Chapter 1? So in Chapter 1, we focused on infrastructure. We wanted to deliver compute, storage, networking, on-demand, self-service portals, access easily. That was some of the first use cases in that first chapter of Chapter 1. We delivered that in a public cloud. We delivered that cloud in a box, an appliance that we rolled into your data center. And it was pretty successful, except that people said, this is great. I have virtual machines, I have computing resources up and running, but I still have 15 steps on top of that. I need application runtimes, I need databases, I need my configuration, my corporate policies, and on and on and on. There are 15 steps or so on top of that virtual machine that I need. So for some people, they looked at applications that were pretty standard productivity applications like email, spreadsheets, slideware, and they said, hey, we can standardize the installation and configuration of these applications, and SaaS was born. So we had customers coming out and purchasing SaaS applications for those productivity apps. And then as an industry, we looked at how do we help customers, especially enterprises and existing customers, how do we help them deliver their business applications, those critical workloads that are providing critical revenue for their business, onto the cloud? And it was really difficult for them to imagine how they could migrate those existing applications. So instead of migrating in the Chapter 1 of cloud, we focused a lot on delivering mobile front ends or web front ends that attach to those legacy applications, but those front ends would run in the cloud. So it was kind of an entry point to Chapter 1, but a necessary entry point. You have to go through that tactical to get to the strategic value of cloud. So there's really these three phases that we see. In that first phase, it's all about IT efficiency, lowering the costs of delivering infrastructure. In the second phase, we were able to move into the second phase and determine what is the new cloud-native architecture model, not only that helps deliver new applications on the cloud, but modernize customers' heritage applications to the cloud as well. What is that architecture that builds in resiliency and scalability? We use technologies like Cloud Foundry. We now use technologies like containers and have containers as a service. But we really standardized on that application architecture for both productivity applications, for custom applications, and for applications that you might receive from third party. And this is what allows that third phase. So in this third phase, we see enterprises that are here. They're no longer afraid of being disrupted. Some of the largest financial services companies in the industry came to us probably 7 years ago and said their biggest fear was the next fintech. What's going to happen? How am I going to be disrupted and put out of business by the next fintech? For those companies that are now in this third phase, they're not worried about that anymore. They know what infrastructure they need. They know the application architecture. It's not a physical location. It is a logical architecture and a business model, and they're really able to focus on service innovation. They can create new services in their environment. If they don't work, they can bring them down, and that's fine. They have a modular application architecture that can withhold that. They not only are withheld by what's in their environment. If another fintech comes out and is created, they can easily integrate because they use open standards on their architecture and their infrastructure. So that fear is really gone, and they're focused on this phase 3. So there are some obstacles in getting to that phase 3 and really developing that. I think that I heard our first speaker talk a little bit about those as applicable to the federal government. So obviously, existing workloads and modernizing those are big challenges. Those workloads can have different security requirements, can have different location policies. We work in the commercial sector with a lot of customers across the world. The whole country of Germany, for example, has rules that data cannot leave the German soil, and the German citizen can only touch that data. So how do you operate that in a cloud? Again, you have to think of the cloud as a logical model. It's not a physical location. It's a logical model of how you design your infrastructure, how you design your applications. But your data can reside where it needs to reside, and it can have the security that it needs. A lot of our clients also have started with multiple cloud vendors. As they went through this chapter 1 of cloud, doing infrastructure and applications and productivity apps, they ended up with a bit of cloud everywhere. They had projects that kind of popped up, and so they have multiple cloud vendors. And now that the architecture for those applications are standardizing, they're asking us, what do I do with these multiple vendors? Is it possible to manage and operate with multiple vendors in one organization? And of course, the culture and the skills challenge is always there. Doing continuous delivery and working in this cloud model where applications change constantly, you fail fast and you're able to recover and remove pieces of an application if it doesn't work, or integrate with applications outside of your walls. This is a complete culture change. And while people in my generation or my age that have been around the block for a while it's difficult for us, you have to think about the next generation that's coming in. The generation that has grown up with cloud technology and is coming out of school expecting that autonomy. They're expecting the ability to be able to integrate with third parties, go out and Google and look up sample code and work with people outside of your organization and learn from other people. So we have to prepare for that and not be disrupted for that. So for us at IBM, we're seeing hybrid and multi-cloud, the new model. So customers still have traditional IT environments, and that's okay. They're transitioning over time. They also have private clouds, because for certain reasons, certain data, I'm sure you guys can relate, they cannot put data in their applications on a public cloud. They want to maintain in their data center, but they want those logical architectures to have the benefits of cloud. And then we have a couple of models in our public cloud where there's traditional public cloud and then dedicated instances in public cloud. But it's not just an IBM statement. It's a logical architecture that involves multiple cloud vendors. 67% of our commercial enterprise customers tell us that they want a multiple cloud vendor model. And 94% say that they have this hybrid model. So almost everyone wants hybrid and multi-cloud. Some of the things that they're thinking about is, how do I connect those clouds together? How do I move workloads over time if one cloud is becoming too expensive or one model is too expensive, or maybe that application isn't generating the revenue that it used to be? I want to move that back in-house to save costs. How do I port my applications from one cloud to another? How do I connect them together? And how do I manage this consistently in this hybrid multi-cloud architecture? So chapter 2 is here. Chapter 2 is multi-cloud, chapter 2 is hybrid. It's based on standard infrastructure architectures, standard application architectures, and it's based on open standards. Open standards with security and with the right management can be successful for your business. We've seen it in enterprises happen today along that journey to the third phase of cloud, and we've seen it, we can see it in the federal space as well. So 5 principles that we really think about when we focus on our open hybrid cloud or chapter 2 model. Hybrid is first. where your applications and your data live matter, and you can choose where they live and still have successful applications that interact with data. Multi-cloud, you don't have to choose one public cloud or private cloud vendor. You can have different vendors for different applications and have consistent management across those as well. It's based on open standards. We participate in lots of open communities over the past 10 years in cloud and have developed these standards for application architectures and infrastructure operations. And it's secure. One of the things that we're passionate about in the development of our Watson technology is that your data can live where you want it to live, and it is your data. It is secure, it can still operate and successfully deliver new machine learning models and give you AI benefits without leaving your premises. So security is core to our Chapter 2 of Cloud. I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple examples. First is the Air Force. So we've been working with the Air Force. They were looking at a project that was really what we consider that first phase of cloud. They were moving virtual machines on-premise to the cloud, just moving them as they are. And so we went to them and said, hey, let's look at a more modern transformational approach that may be a little bit more disruptive, but would actually get you further along to that third phase of cloud. And so we went to them and said, let's re-architect those virtual machines into containers. We've developed best practices and tools which are open source that can help you do that. And we were able to take one of their applications and in 2 weeks from start to finish, refactor that from virtual machines to containers, move it to a public cloud, which was not an IBM public cloud, by the way, and get them up and running with benefits in that third phase in 2 weeks. The Air Force was so happy with this, and they also said that not just were they able to do continuous delivery and deliver new application features more quickly, but they were surprised to see that built into that application architecture was also monitoring and management. And they were able to actually resolve problems because they could see the components living in a hybrid cloud model and what was going on with those components with much more visibility. This is the power of a standard open application architecture and infrastructure. One example in the commercial space is Sprint. So you can read a lot about Sprint in the press and our partnership with Sprint, but when you read about it, it doesn't even say cloud. They talk about Watson and AI. So Sprint is using our Watson and artificial intelligence machine learning models to take data from different sources and basically aggregate that data, create machine learning models, and depict when new parts or labor needs to be deployed because they're about to have an outage. And this data could live anywhere. It could be in a public cloud with a chatbot, which is sort of customer service data coming from people calling in on the phones and talking to their customer service reps. Or it could be IoT and device data, which is in some remote location where their telecommunications infrastructure lives and sometimes is disconnected from the grid at points in time. The data could live anywhere, so we were able to take a standard application architecture and collect that data, bring it together, put it into machine learning models, and give Sprint that intelligence to be able to depict that they're going to need to send someone out, there's a failure here, or there's about to be a failure here, or a certain part has failed and they're going to need to send someone out to replace a part. So when you read about it in the news, it's all about data and AI and using those insights to affect their business and bring better value to their customers. But what you don't know is that Chapter 1 of Cloud is underneath. That tactical phase of application architecture and infrastructure standardization is what's delivering this powerful business value for Sprint across multiple clouds in a hybrid model. So the future of cloud is here. I hope that you guys can see it. It's hybrid and it's multi, and we at IBM would appreciate nothing more than to work with you, probably more than any other customer in the world. Thank you.